Hello, everyone. You're welcome. Hello. We will give just 5 minutes to everybody to come in, and then we start it. Hello, hello. Many people. Amazing. Hello, hello. For the guys that are entering now, we will just wait just 5 minutes more to everybody to come in, and then we start it. Very good to see you here. Hello. André, Cláudia, Eduardo, Eric, Gustavo, Juliano, Justino, Ken, Marcelo, Mário, Otton, Peter, Hitson, Willen. Very nice to see you here. Hello, guys. We are just waiting a couple of more minutes to start it, to let everybody to come in. Hello. More than 20 people online. Very good. Hello, hello. João, Juliano, nice to see you here. Hello, guys. Just a couple of more minutes for us to start it. I'm seeing that some of you sent on the Q&A chat. The chat will be open, so we can answer at the end of the presentation. So please send us all of your questions. So it will be very nice to answer them after the presentation. This guy is saying hello. Just 1 more minute. Um, 11:05, as we promised. I believe we can start. Can we, Luisa?
Yes, please, Luis, go ahead.
Okay, so let's start it. Guys, you're welcome. It's a very pleasure for us to have you here today in this joint webinar between SNEWS and AXIMMETRY, between Arion and AXIMMETRY virtual production platform. It's amazing to see more than 30 people here together to see what we have to you. And again, thank you so much, and we hope that you enjoyed and you can see the amazing job that have been done together. To start, let me just introduce myself. My name is Luis Gustavo. I'm part of the SNEWS team here as project specialist. I will handle this presentation with you and with Matt and Zoltan from AXIMMETRY that will talk to you a little bit later. Hello, Matt and Zoltan. Thank you. And to explain more about SNEWS for whom doesn't know us, we are at the broadcast market for over 27 years as software developers, and we deliver software that are tailored to meet the specific needs of our customers. And we have more than 200 customers around the world. Last year, we won with Arion the Best of Show at IBC, and we are also IBM member as well. To talk more about Arion, our newsroom computer system, Arion is web-based, so it's very scalable and it's very easy to deploy it. We have many integrator partners with MAN, Layout, and CG, like AXIMMETRY that are with us today. And just with Arion, you can cover all the news workflow. So just with Arion, journalists that are the end user of our software can manage the entire news workflow. And to explain more about the news workflow, we commonly divide it in three, starting with the gathering. So inside the gathering part, it's when the journalists gather the news and produce it to keep the production ready. So they fact check it and then send it to be more productive. The second part, the production, is when the journalists will build the news reports, will do the production itself and make everything ready to be on air. And we have the live part. So it's when the users manage the rundown, manage the stories, link video to the stories, link graphics to the stories, and keep everything well. And after the live, of course, we have the archive part, but we strongly believe that is related with the live events. To talking to you more about gathering with Arion, inside Arion, we have the social media monitor that you can monitor Twitter, Facebook, and RSS feeds, and we are continuing to improve in it. You have the news searching tool. You can have assignment proposals management, so you can manage every proposal inside the newsroom. And we have a very different menu that's called our agenda. So inside the Arion, the customers can have the unified contact agenda. Guys, just one thing that I forgot to talk about to you. Let me do it now. I will talk a little bit in Portuguese to our customers here in Brazil. Pessoal, como vocês estão vendo, a gente está fazendo uma apresentação aqui em inglês, junto com o time da AXIMMETRY, mas tem um closed caption, então vocês podem habilitar, e a gente também está gravando, então a gente vai disponibilizar para vocês ali depois um vídeo com as legendas em português também, tá? Então fiquem tranquilos que a gente vai fazer isso. And guys, another thing that I forgot to tell you, we have the Q&A chat here, and please send us your questions and we'll be very pleased to answer them after the presentation. Just to continue, I was talking about the unified contact agenda. So again, with Arion, you can cover all the gathering part. After that, we have the production. So inside the Arion, you can centralize the assignment management. So inside the Arion, all the managers inside the newsroom will be able to see everything working together, to see all the jobs. And we have real-time production control. We have the guide editing with desktop or mobile. We can create placeholders since the assignment. So the customers will have the same story name since the assignment, so we can create placeholders on them, and all the raw content can be sent to PAN or MAN. And we also have a very user-friendly news report, so the journalists can create news reports in a very easy way as well. And at last, we have the live part inside Arion with the rundown, archive, and media center menus. The users can have full control of the rundown, can manage the stories, can drag and drop in it, can copy and paste them. And we have full integration with MUNs, playouts, and CGs. Matt will show you how to add graphics inside Arion and how it works with AXIMMETRY. And again, with us, you can reuse your stories on a very easy way, just by clicking on the archive and select the stories and click to reuse it on another live program. Basically, as I said to you, with Arion, we can cover since the beginning and in the gathering part to the live part of the news workflow. So with Arion, we strongly believe that you can do more with less. So you have production flow optimization, you have less operation, and of course, more production. We can increase your quality deliveries. And with all the systems integrated together, at the end of the day, you can save up more than 4 hours. So it's amazing, and it's very nice to tell you about it. And to end our SNEWS part here today, I strongly would like to call you to schedule a meeting with us at NAB. We will deliver new features specifically to NAB, so it will be amazing to have with us to there and to take a coffee with you. So please scan this QR code and scheduling a meeting with us. And now I will hand over to Matt to show you the amazing job that we have together. And please, Matt, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Louise. And I also welcome everyone who joined today's webinar. I also see that among the attendees, there's several very, very familiar names to us. To those, especially a huge shout out later at the end. I'm going to work on the assumption that the majorities here present on today's webinar, AXIMMETRY is going to be something new. So while I'm hijacking the screen, let me allow you actually just to say a couple of words about who we are and what we've been doing and what's worth noting and knowing about us, just in a nutshell. So where I am here. So on our part, actually, today there's going to be two presenters. One being my humble person, Matt Tobos. I'm a senior technician in AXIMMETRY, which means that mostly I am probably one of the few or first names you may get acquainted to if you have any question regarding our software, for example, if you require any sorts of consultation or training. But also today with me, there's Zoltán Motyan, your Chief Technical Officer, with whom probably the majority of you may not have the chance yet to get acquainted with, and who's probably the biggest influencer and the sort of father figure to AXIMMETRY itself. So it's an honor to have him here and try and come up with all sorts of questions to entertain him, to be engaged in the conversation. What we are today going to talk about, again, in a nutshell, is what AXIMMETRY is and what we do. And then we are going to give you a short introduction into the software itself, and then we are going to discuss how it can be used together with Arion, in what roles could it be given, for example, and how it's going to look like in terms of the production. So AXIMMETRY itself is a virtual production platform that essentially enabled creators of all kinds to create high-end, real-time 3D virtual productions on a budget. Now, we do so thanks to our 45,000+ registered users in over 80+ countries on 5 continents, which in practice gives us a lot of feedback and a lot of useful information on how people around the world use the softwares and their personal views on virtual production and their personal needs to virtual productions, that we try to facilitate for them in all sorts of virtual productions, including green screen productions, XR, AR, or any combination of these three. So if someone would like to use green screen and AR together, AXIMMETRY can do that. XR and AR together, we can do that. Greens 3 and XR together, absolutely. And also the three of them together, we can do that as well. So we achieve this by using two render engines. AXIMMETRY always comes with its native render engine. And upon that, we also have an Unreal Engine integration into a system that allows more and more creators to choose freely in terms of where they get their 3D models and their 3D content they like to work with. In addition, up in the next release in AXIMMETRY and starting onward, we're also going to have MOS protocol implemented in AXIMMETRY system that we developed and brought to you in collaboration with SNEWS and Airion's software actually. So now AXIMMETRY integrates seamlessly with Airion and its newsroom computer systems via MOS protocol. That's going to help broadcasters to create dynamic and immersive content efficiently. And of course, later at the end of the tutorials, if anyone has a question at any point, I welcome everyone to use the Q&A section in this webinar. And also, if you'd like to, after the webinar, you can write us an email at sales@aximmetry.com. Having said this, welcome to one of our basic virtual scenes, and also AXIMMETRY, the one that has been using this whole presentation at the same time. And let me just simply close the background over there and be at my desktop. So this is home to many of us, actually, to me mostly. And let me just show you around a bit what we have here. So this is actually one of the freely available virtual scenes that comes with the content package of AXIMMETRY. So anyone who has AXIMMETRY, and you can get it starting from free of charge, you can have this scene as well, starting from free of charge, and look around with it. I'm going to talk more about actually what you see at the middle of the screen and also what you see around it. But for now, at the very beginning, let me just show you around a couple of the few and simplest things that you can achieve with AXIMMETRY, such as, for example, one of our award-winning chroma keyers that we have here, that you can see the keyed image here, and that is being received from here. Of course, I could always, if I'd like to, for example, pick a background color, also, for example, adjust the keying itself and other parameters. So there's several things I can work with, for example, just to make some quick adjustments and then have a perfectly keyed image placed in a virtual studio. I can also, if I want to, just move around, for example, switch to a free preview of the scene, resize and customize my whole image of the show. And let's say, move this billboard and replace it around the scene with simple clicks. Now, I'm not adjusting and not saying strictly or describing actually what I'm doing and how I'm doing today, because that would really push our time limit above the roof. So I'm just showing you the simplest features that we also teach many users how to make them for themselves, and also are quite easily achievable with AXIMMETRY. Let me just drop down this preview back where it used to be, resize it a bit, and be where we were. And we can also actually have virtual camera movements quite easily created here. So let me just move the camera a little around. This is for 1 point, 2 point. Again, just move it, and there we are. And if I would like to speed things up a bit, then I can simply, for example, just go for a 1 second animation. If it's too much for me, then I can make it, let's say, 10 seconds, and then it would be a smooth camera animation. So things are fairly simple in AXIMMETRY, and this is one thing that we always keep in mind, that we want to create and provide a tool for the creators that is easy to use, and it will not take away from the attention of what's really important, which is the creative ideas and bringing those to real life. So having said this, and jumping back to AXIMMETRY, now AXIMMETRY and what you see at the center of it is essentially a node-based editor software from certain points of view. Now, of course, it's much more than that, but this is probably the most important characteristics of it. So everything in AXIMMETRY is put together, created by nodes. And if I'm going to create a new compound in AXIMMETRY, this actually comes in with simple things that you can see and work with. Also, more important, I'm going to provide a much better example which is going to be one of our lower third graphics, being here, this not being needed, and playing out this simple compound. So this is actually a fairly simple, often used in televisions and channel televisions, cable televisions, sort of overlay graphic, where you can have a main title for a news, for example, and then some headlines right under it. Again, it's one of a basically already provided sample that you can work with in AXIMMETRY. Such exemplary compounds and nodes in AXIMMETRY are freely available, and there's many of them. But essentially what's worth noting is that AXIMMETRY basically offers very, very simple and very easy functionalities in terms of what you can achieve and what you can do with it. So here, for example, if you want to, you can, first of all, play features and have them as an animation. You can also turn off bits and parts if you do not want to use them, for example. But you can also adjust certain parameters of it, for example, like the sizes. In other words, everything is customizable, and you can make your scene look like anything you want to. Or to give you an example, for example, of sequencing, just reverting back here to the sequence editor. Here's again a simple example of what we can do, animating virtual elements in any way we want to, or simply just play them out. Have keys, for example, where we are going to stop or move certain items depending on our needs, especially, for example, if I'm going to move it here. That's for the title, but that does not matter. And I can also, for example, adjust things quite easily again, just like in any animation editor, move the keys in all sorts of direction, even control, for example, the curves quite easily and quite simply. So everything is just having the idea around to make it as simple and as easy to use in AXIMMETRY as you want it, being the general rule of thumb. Now, I'm realizing actually that I jumped ahead one step. And so I'm just going to give you an even simpler example of this scene, which is simply, let's have a video input, for example, again, one of the basic factory ones that we have here. So AXIMMETRY uses modules like this actually that we can expose, so to speak, to left and right, depending on what we want to do and achieve. A simple modules such as this one, for example, are going to provide us with video inputs, for example, or audio inputs, or all sorts of inputs that we may need for production. But we can always add more and more of these modules, and there are several hundreds of them available in the program that can be used sort of as a Lego set, actually. So they're essentially building blocks that, when put together, they are going to create more complex features. This is not the one. But even in themselves can provide some nice, simple functionality. So if I, for example, would like to blur this video, I can easily do that. If I would like the blur to make some sort of a transition by itself and automate it, I could use a low frequency oscillator and just simply connect it together, and now it's going to work all by itself without me needing to be here. So this is actually a simple example of AXIMMETRY's node-based editor system. This is actually a very complex example of the very same node-based editor system, actually, jumping back to this compound. And as I mentioned previously, AXIMMETRY can use its own native render engine and unres render engine. Now, this example here uses AXIMMETRY's native render engine. And you can see an example diving deep into it, how a 3D hierarchy, for example, looks like in AXIMMETRY. So these are all compounds all connected together and all sharing, for example, some sort of functionalities contributing to the overall results that you see on the screen. So it's quite fantastic. It can be very, very interesting to work with and also enjoyable, as it essentially allows you an unlimited amount of freedom that you can work with to bring your creative vision to life. Getting back to the previously shown and envisioned headliner, this is actually, as I mentioned before, it's a quite common example of what cable televisions often work with in terms of overlay. This is a lower third graphics. And if the question is, how can this, for example, be used with Arion using the MOS protocol together, then the answer is quite simple. So let's turn on the main theme of the day on. Here, for example, all sorts of graphics you get into AXIMMETRY, you can just add a simple MOS object out compound that comes with AXIMMETRY, and you can add it to any sorts of graphical element that you may have. And there's going to be two more important steps that are sort of obligatory. One is having a playing, a channel, and a layer exposed wires on the left side to control this element from Arion actually, and also to have some basic functionality to it, and also the preview and the output on the right side to have video output from it. Every other, we call these things here pins, exposed on the left side are customizable parameters. In other words, you can adjust any, but really any parameter of your 3D graphic content you want to. And you can output as many parameters for adjustment as you need to and as you'd like to. And all these things later I'm going to show you, it's going to appear on Arion's side as well, and so that you can decide to control the scene from Arion if you'd wish to. Now, having said all these things, let's just switch to Arion for now. Being right here, this is an example of Arion's system, and I'm simply going to just choose today's rundown. It's going to be the new night news. And you can see here's already an example. There's 3 blocks that we have, or 2 blocks and a standby one, and a couple news here, or stories. And now I'm going to open the first story. And inside the first story, you're going to see all the items that we have here on the left side. And the simplest way to meet with AXIMMETRY within Arion system is just to click on Add Graphics right there. Once you do so, a plugin is going to open up on Arion's side, where you can simply navigate within AXIMMETRY's contents. You can, of course, specially choose where your contents for your Arion-related projects are going to be held. And so those 3D content and models are going to be appearing here. Of course, you can also search for items, like typing in news. You're going to find, for example, all the accordingly named models, for example, here. And you can also navigate by the folders as you wish. Now, if I were to choose, for example, one item and click on it, it's going to appear at the lower quarter of the image actually with a preview screen here. And here are going to be my adjustable parameters, such as the channel number, for example, the layer of this overlay graphic element, for example. So if there's multiple, I can layer them on top of each other or under of each other. I can, of course, have certain functionalities here, such as, for example, with the title that I can turn off, which is going to update there in a moment, or on, or I can, for example, rewrite the text saying breaking news. And of course, I can also change the graphic elements, for example, here, make them blue. And I can also change their opacity if I would like to. This is just a couple of examples, of course. Now, there's more kinds of parameters that can be adjusted here, and there's more parameters that I can do justice within the time that is given to me today. Now, these parameters, show title, title, headline, color, and opacity, are the same exact parameters that previously were shown in AXIMMETRY, if you remember this scene. So here is show title, title, headline, color, and opacity, the same exact items. And if I were, for example, to add one more extra, I could easily do that. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to go to, let's say, headline back color or background color, I'm just going to put it here. I'm going to name it headline back color and click OK. And now I'm just going to save this compound. And this should also shortly appear here in Arion. And so now I have a whole new parameter adjustable here that I could easily adjust here. So adding another parameter to what I see and already can control from Arion is as easy as you just saw it from AXIMMETRY. And now if I would like, for example, I can just simply click save here, or if I were not like to make any adjustments, then I could just hit cancel. So let's say, for example, I set up everything in Arion side, I hit save and close, and let's say, for example, I want to go back and make some more adjustments because I forgot something. No worries, there's a little edit icon at the top right corner of the items here within the story, and I can just open it again up. And of course, I could do it with any other elements that's available for me. And there's always going to be a preview of what I'm going to adjust. So it is as simple and as easy as that. And having done all these things, actually, once I set up everything in Arion side, two things remain to do. One is click on save and then close. And I'm back to the rundown. Now, having said all these things, one more thing that I have not mentioned, which is AXIMMETRY's sort of use case for roles in a hindsight with Arion. So there's two ways you can use AXIMMETRY, for example. Currently, one as a standalone character generator. And if I go back to AXIMMETRY now and create a brand new compound that I'm going to play, it's very simple actually to do. All I need to do is right click on the background and go to new special compound and choose Moss Runner. And of course, I'm going to need some output. So I'm just going to output channel 1 and channel 2 in these cases that I could name anything, as you're later going to see. And with a double left click on the Moss Runner, I'm going to open up this new pop-up window. And this new pop-up window actually is going to be quite friendly and easy to use for me. Of course, there's going to be my newsroom, computer system or servers, IP address, its ID, and several data that I need to set up. But for now, the running order is what matters most to me. So I'm just going to choose night news with today's date, and the same block that I previously saw in Arion appeared. So this is actually what I see in AXIMMETRY. And if you remember, this was actually the blocks and the stories that I had in Arion. So actually AXIMMETRY can see all these informations as well. And we can also play them out from within AXIMMETRY. No trouble at all. And I can also stop them or control just bits and parts of it. Everything is easy to do and quite simple. So having said all these things, a couple of the things that I have not mentioned yet is that I can also adjust these items from AXIMMETRY. If I select on the actual content of the graphics, then I can also, the same way as I did, for example, from Arion, can control the parameters that I exposed, which is the color, for example, the text. Speaking and writing is often confusing, so I'd like to separate them and just hit enter. And there's the update, for example, and I can also control the opacity. So everything works the same way as it was in Arion, which means that if, for example, the one responsible for the graphical contents for the items has no access for Arion's computer, but only for AXIMMETRY, then even then can control the elements easily without any problems. And of course, we can also, for example, edit the channels, for which I'm just going to move Moss Runner there. And if I would like to, I could add, for example, purposefully named differently another channel, or I could, for example, change their orders quite easily. And let's say, for example, rename one and just click OK. And you can see here that everything just changed accordingly. So everything is adjustable. Everything is easy to make a change of. I'm going to just delete that. I'm going to just go with CH1 I'm going to move down channel 3, and there we are as we used to be. So this is actually AXIMMETRY as being a standalone character generator. Also among the things that I had not mentioned yet are going to be 3D modules or 3D graphical elements. So for everything I showed you was a 2-dimensional graphical overlay on the image, but we can also do 3D elements quite simple and quite easily. So let's say, for example, in the third story that we have here in the rundown, we have 3D cylinders that could be used for data visualization, for example. And of course, I can also adjust them. Let's just say to 75, and let's set it to, well, 400 would be a loose stretch, but 100. And then they're gonna automatically update, or I could just go with them and Control C everything. Click enter there, and there as we were in previous situation. I can, of course, change the color again to anything I'd like to. So everything works just as before, simply. And these same things can be done in AXIMMETRY side as well. So I'm just going to hit cancel for now. Going to save and close this story. And in AXIMMETRY, I can do the same thing. First, stopping everything, then having the graphics here. And then again, I can adjust all these values and have any value adjusted. Now, I could do so manually like you just saw me do so, but I can also use databases and automatically update the values displayed here. And for that, you could use an SQL database, for example, a JSON file, or several other sorts of informations, for example, that could be connected with AXIMMETRY. And so the data is presented here by these info charts would be automatically updated live if you'd want to. So that's just one of the many opportunities that you have with Arion and AXIMMETRY together. And one more thing that I have not mentioned is that, of course, we can have multiple channels. As you can see, for example, here, these content so far we're using channel 1, but we have one for channel 2 as well that is completely independent. So for multiple outputs from one AXIMMETRY computer, for example, you can serve multiple program outputs at the same time and control them if you'd want to. So having said all these opportunities, it's already wonderful as it is, but this is just one use case scenario for AXIMMETRY, which is very nice, but we can do a little more than that, which would be using AXIMMETRY as a final compositor. And how could that look like? So remaining where we are at the moment, I could in AXIMMETRY add a video input. And of course, this video input is going to be something that I'm going to blend together with the output of the mouse runner, that being the foreground, the video being the background, and choosing my video source for today, which is supposed to be, no input. Just a moment for me, that I'm going to do my bit in here and trying to figure out what the problem could be. Especially because, oh, I believe I know what the problem is. Serving multiple outputs at the same time is something that here might not work. So coming around the problem, I'm going to use another video input, a simple video form, for example, from here, and I can still outplay all my graphic elements on top of it. And for example, I could simply adjust the position saying this is not the White House, but this is gonna be Hong Kong. As simple as that. And you can see already on the output that the name of the place has changed. So it's quite easy to use AXIMMETRY as the final compositor, but we can also make one step further and coming back to the previous virtual scene that we saw. And we can do the same with a complex 3D virtual environment as well. This is a green screen production. So although we have a recording of the talent here, you could run it live with the broadcaster or the newscaster standing in a green screen studio, recorded live with a camera, keyed live by AXIMMETRY. And then adding on top of this, a MOS runner compound to use it together with MOS. And then you could see your live production as soon as it's going to load. With AXIMMETRY. I apologize for the performance of my laptop. Quite a lot of things happening on it usually at the same time, which might not be the best practice. So here actually you can see the example of having, and I can also, for example, could run all these overlays at the same time from AXIMMETRY, moving a little around here, control the cameras and change them. So essentially, I could also control the scene at which I'm looking. For example, I can also control the overlays that is provided. And I could do so from Arion side, and I could do so from AXIMMETRY side. And if I would like to make one step further, then I could also, for example, control these two infographics that are here simply. So I could actually go back to Arion side. And in this is also a story, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there's another item, which are the info bars. But if you overlay them, actually, you're going to see that they are going to appear as simple data. Now, this is a special element that we have here. This specific item is not controlling the 3D content, but rather provides data to AXIMMETRY that then can be used. So this is actually what it looks like on parts of Arion. And if I jump back to AXIMMETRY, then and scroll down, this is what it's going to look like from AXIMMETRY's side. So there I am with the push of a button. I'm now controlling the virtual scene. And if I select this item, you can see that the same adjustable parameters appear in AXIMMETRY as in Arion. And if I were, for example, to adjust these parameters and put them to, let's say, 50-50, I could save and close. I do not need to wait for the update, but if I would like to, I could. I'm just going to hit OK, save this story, close this story, and jumping back to AXIMMETRY, you see that 50-50 now is the new data. And AXIMMETRY also updated the data that I could put back to 2370 or 7327 as they were used to be. Of course, I could also adjust their colors, make them, for example, red, and then I could come back to Arion and do this trick one last time, being closing here. And let's say that I'm going to change the color of the other one and make it yellow. Close it, save it. Back to AXIMMETRY, there's the new color. So, in other words, there's an endless opportunity here that one could take, especially if combined well. These two systems can really change the game for several players and actors and broadcasters in the television and news industry. So hopefully, if this is something that you may be interested in, then I'd most certainly welcome you in our Q&A section. And I'd also like to genuinely thanks for the opportunity to SNEWS to bring in this event to all the attendees online, and for being such a great partner in terms of further pushing the stretches and the horizons that we can do together with our own softwares and products. So thank you for being here, and I welcome everyone in the Q&A section.
Thank you, Matt. Again, amazing job together, and to see how we can control virtual scenario inside the Arion. It's amazing. And imagine in election workflow how powerful it could be together. And it is strongly merged with our goal to be more optimized to our customer. Again, it's amazing. Now let's open to our Q&A. We have first question from Mario Gonzalez. He's asking about if AXIMMETRY has XR support with LED panels and multicam at live.
I'm here. Yes, apologies. Could you please, Luis, just repeat the question?
Yeah. Does AXIMMETRY have support to XR? I mean that extended reality with LED panels and multicam at live.
Absolutely. We do support the use of multicams. We do support the use of XR panels, actually. And this is something that can be used together with AXIMMETRY. And also, these kinds of productions can as well also be used in conjunction with Arion, just the way that I was showing before. So all our capabilities are compatible with the recent MOS integrations and with Arion as well. And we do support XR productions, and we do have the feature set and the ability to use multiple camera at the same time.
Okay, we have a second question from Hitson Arruda. Is it possible to use Excel files with data to generate graphics?
Yes, you can use with a little bit of trick. So you have to access some other format, for example, CSV or JSON, and that can be directly imported into AXIMMETRY. And also AXIMMETRY automatically reacts when this kind of data file changes. So for example, you save another data set, and AXIMMETRY loads it automatically and refreshes the video content according to it.
Very good. We have a third one from Anthony. How much is the full implementation of Arion? Anthony, I'll pass your contact to our commercial team here, and then they keep in touch with you to tell about the costs. Here we are just technical guys, so we will keep in touch with you. Thank you so much. And the last one of André, incredible, congratulations. The integration work was very complete and functional. Thank you so much, André. And I think that's it. I don't know if we have any more questions. Yes, another from André. Can I also use integration with live augmented reality? Live augmented reality, sorry.
Integration with live augmented reality? Absolutely. I see no reason why one could not do it. Essentially, the production from AXIMMETRY Spot does not change at all. And live augmented reality production is something that we always supported. And adding MOS implementations on top of that actually is as simple as I previously just showed. Like 2 more compounds, you can combine them together, and then you can output any sorts of overlays on top of that before. If that's the question, if not, Motyo, I believe you have a different interpretation.
Probably that is the question, but as you have seen, you can use 2 different kind of MOS items in the system, MOS objects in the system. One is simply outputting a video image, which is an image of an lower third or a 3D graphics, and you can add this your AR composition simply as a layer, if you want, as a video layer. But the second one you have seen, you could see in the end of our demo is that most objects can also send numerical data into your AR scene or VR or virtual scene. And with this feature, you can directly control any 3D elements in your AR or VR scenes. So this is the 2 ways. So the answer is definitely yes.
Thank you. And I think we have one more. How many channels does AXIMMETRY have for graphics?
How many channels?
How many
As-
channels?
As many as you create. So actually, the hardware that limits the number of channels. I'm not sure that you are referring to the most channels or anything or something else.
Andrea, if you would like to type inside the chat. But I think is answered. Andrea, type it. No, now we have a question from Freddy. Do you intend to create something in real time for VR glasses?
We do not support VR glasses. It is a very different kind of virtual reality. So we only support broadcast style virtual reality at the moment.
We have another from Mike. Is it possible to see a preview of the mods video attached to the story together with the graphics inside the Arion? I don't know, Mike, if you were saying about layout video, because if yes, we can see it inside the Arion. But if you are intending to see the videos that Matt showed you, I think that's not possible yet. Am I sure, Matt? And
I'm looking at you, Zoltan.
I'm sorry.
Is it possible to see the final composite output of AXIMMETRY as a preview inside Arion?
Oh. At the moment you cannot, but it's an interesting possibility to improve the system. So at the moment you can only see the preview of individual most items, most objects, but in the future we may add this feature. Add this feature if.
okay, and Andrea type it here. He was meaning about channels for independent lower thirds.
Well, it basically only limited by the hardware itself. So actually, you can theoretically you can use an unlimited number of outputs regarding let it be SDI outputs or NDI outputs. But of course, there will be a hardware limitation. But theoretically, there is no limit on the number of channels. Yeah.
Thank you, Sultan. I think we don't have any more questions. And guys, to finish it, I would like again to thank you so much for your time to be with us today. Thank you, Matt and Zoltan, to believe us to do this joint webinar together. And guys, see you at NAB. And if you want to schedule a specific demo, we are also available. So have a nice day, night, or morning, and see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.
See you soon, everyone.